You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's I Dream of Nene, the wedding after show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's I Dream of Nene, the wedding after show.
Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married, and we're going to the chapel and we're gonna get married.
Bing is for doing, and welcome to the AfterBuzz TV After Show for I Dream of Nene. This is Season 1, Episode 1, Remix of Love. I'm your host, Jake DuPree.
I'm your host, Michelle Renee.
And I am so unbelievably excited about this show. Nene is my spirit animal. I'm obsessed, like literally obsessed with her. And I say that with I don't even care who knows. I want you to know. I just love her. I'm so excited about this show.
I'm so excited about her and Gregg.
Yes.
Getting back to, I love them as a couple.
Yeah, it's just like, they're so complimentary, I think, of each other. But it's kind of nice to see this show because you see the real workings behind their relationship. I feel like it's pretty real. Don't you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I think some things that I'm sure we'll get into in the episode maybe could have been discussed before they decided to get married again. But yeah, you definitely get an inside look on, like, you know, things we never knew before, like that Gregg had 5 kids and that he was married for 20 years.
20 years before, and 15 years with Nene. That's crazy.
Longer than we've both been alive.
Yeah, very much longer.
Gregg, we didn't know you were that old.
I didn't know he was that old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that probably makes him like 60, 50, 60?
55. Okay, we think if he got married at 20 the first time, which it may have been sooner than that, so it would have been 40 plus 15 is 55 plus, like, they've been divorced for what?
A few years.
A few years.
Yeah. So he's probably close to 60.
60.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give him 60.
We'll go with that. But we'll Google it.
Birthday.
So let's just get it right into the episode because I cannot wait to just like blow through this thing. I love it. So we see Gregg in Nene's closet. So I don't know if this is it just Nene's closet and she wants him to move out of it, right? She doesn't want his stuff in her closet.
I thought that it was just Nene's closet because she had previously made Gregg move his stuff downstairs.
Basement.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just Nene's closet and he's just trying to put stuff in it. But she makes the statement. She's like, Atlanta is my home. I love LA, but I'm glad to be back in Atlanta. And I am too because she's fabulous in Atlanta. And they decided to do their wedding in June, which is like literally in a month or so. Is that what she said? Is that what they're making it seem like, I guess? And I like that they look at their old wedding program and they look at the, you know, all the different things that their first marriage was all about. And that was in 1997, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Or 99, something like that.
I was going to say
97.
95, but I know that's probably wrong.
Yeah. I think they were married in 97.
They were married in the late 90s.
And
let's just go late 90s.
Let's late 90s. And Nene says when you break trust in relationships, it takes a while for it to get back. And it's interesting. We come to find out, you know, Gregg has a common issue in his life that he doesn't communicate very well. And I think that's really interesting that they're dealing with this now. Like, I feel like they should have dealt with this, like you said, before, and then decided to get married.
Yeah.
So
or maybe when he asked her again, she could have said, you know what, I really do love you still, and I would love for us to get married again, but hey, you need to work on the issue with your kids. You need to work on the issue with communication. And also, we're going to sign a prenup.
Exactly.
And then if he agreed to those things, then boom.
Let's go. Where's the ring? Let's go.
Yeah, but
I agree with that.
But then there wouldn't be no show for us to enjoy. So
exactly. There's not a process for us to enjoy and talk about. So, and I like that she said it's not a new wedding. It's a new marriage.
Yeah.
And that's smart. I think that's really cool for people that are even like looking at even a second relationship or a second marriage or anything. After their first, you know, something fell through, it's nice to be like, this is a new marriage. Like, you can still remember the past and learn from it, but let it go and let this be its own thing. I think that's really cool for people to even hear.
Yeah.
I'm just
and
excited
now
about
that I mean, I know the focus isn't on the wedding, but I mean, it's also great because now they're looking through the wedding program and she's like, we didn't have much back then.
I know.
But now they have like so much money and obviously it's going to be a baller wedding. So
clearly, and Bravo's like footing the bill. So it's like, hello.
Yeah. So,
amazing.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, if you think about it, like I wrote this down, people renew their vows all the time. And so I would just only imagine that like getting married again to like, someone would just be that much more, emotional and meaningful. Like,
yeah, because you've had a whole past with them.
Yeah.
I feel like, I know a lot of people get married after long amounts of time. It's fine. But like to get remarried to a person that you've already been married to, like that's a big deal. Like that's a lot of history to deal with too. Because
it's like you go through like a peak and a valley. It's like you go through this divorce and realize obviously that you can't live without them and how much you actually do love them versus maybe a vow renewal where the people are just like in love and they're like, oh, I love them so much. But it's like you don't really know what it's like to be without that person. Yeah. So I think that the divorce, if anything, has probably strengthened their relationship so much more.
True appreciation for each other, I think now. And they also, it's like they really can address the issues and understand the issues between each other and like work on them. I think that's amazing. And then, of course, we see them go to Athens, and I love Athens. It's really cool if you've never been there in the South. It's really pretty and kind of old school, downtown-y kind of feel. And I like that they visited her aunt, who I haven't seen in so long on Real Housewives of Atlanta, Aunt Nina. I think that's how you say her name. But I just know her as Nene's aunt. She raised Nene, basically. And I'm obsessed with her. I think she is so cute and so fun. And then you meet her godmother, who she calls Aunt Bessie, I think. And I like that they go and show the church where they got married and where they had the reception. I think that's so cool just to see like their past, and because that's the Nene we didn't know.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see that, so it was really interesting to see it. And what do you think about Nene getting her aunt's approval again for Gregg?
I don't know. What do I think about that? It seems like the aunts are Team Gregg.
Yeah, clearly.
So, I mean, it makes me wonder if, like, maybe there was a family member that wasn't so fond of Gregg, if she would have gone to them for their approval. It's kind of like, if you know your mom already loves your significant other, then you'll have no problem going to her and being like, hey, guess what? I guess who I'm going to, spend the rest of my life with. But, so, I don't know. I didn't really make too much of that. I just thought it was a cute little family moment. And then with the one aunt, Betsy, being like, I had a conversation with Gregg and I knew this was going to work out. I, put this in God's hands. I thought that was great.
That was cute. I thought that was really nice. And he kind of went behind Nene's back and talked to her, somebody that's really important to her, and was like, I'm going to get my family back. And I don't know, that's admirable of him. I think he's very chivalrous. I don't know. I don't think that's how he is.
I did think that the lunch was maybe focusing a little too much on negative past things, though.
Yeah. I do. I've noticed that in the entire episode, there was a lot of focusing on the negative stuff, which I was surprised. I didn't think it would be that. I thought it'd be like more just like the two of them like cutting up and being like ridiculous, Yeah.
It's just like if you're choosing to like recommit to this man, then obviously you want to acknowledge the things that happened in the past and the reason why you split up in the beginning, but you don't want to harbor on those things, and you want to be over them already. And to me, it seems like Nene, especially we see later in the episode that she goes to therapy, it seems like they're still working through some things. So I just, want to make sure like I have anything to do with it, but I just want them to make sure that those issues are really resolved and that she's really over them before they do, commit again. Because if not, it's just going to be the same.
I know, and they don't disappear at all. If anything, they get even magnified once you're like in a serious relationship with someone. Yeah. So deal with it.
And she made the comment though, she's like, I haven't forgiven him, but I'm not doing it on purpose or something like that.
Exactly.
So I think she realizes that she's kind of needs to let go of a few things and just move on.
And then we see Nene meeting with her divorce lawyer, Randy, but she's going to meet with him about having a prenup. I like their relationship because you wouldn't think that these two would ever be in, I don't know, like ever have communication with each other at all or like know each other. And he's just kind of like this nerdy white guy, and she's like funny and asking him all these questions, and he just like feels uncomfortable, but like also like, I know you. I don't know. It's really cute, the dynamic between those two. But I think it's really smart that she's getting a prenup. Like that is, of course, because she is doing so many things and will still continue to do things. And I think it's smart for her to protect what she's got. I mean, what did they decide on? They decided what? Do we know specifically?
I
guess we
don't think
know
they specifically decided on, because he gave her a few options, but I don't think she chose one or the other.
I think she liked the one where it was like they have what they have so far separately, and then after the day they get married, whatever they make, they have to split.
They share, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I like that option too. I like what's hers is hers and what's his is his for right now.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's really, I mean, I don't think they're ever going to get divorced again.
Hopefully not.
I hope not, at least. But I don't know. I just think for any person I just think it's a smart business move for any person that has any kind of business sense at all.
Yeah. And especially we've seen, I know this is a spinoff of the Housewives franchise or whatever, but on these shows, we see a lot of, like, you'll see the husband obviously is usually the one that has money at first. Then over the process of the show, it'll be the wife that gets all these endorsements and, book deals. And
attention, too.
And attention. And then she rises to success, and then he maybe loses his fortune, like Taylor Armstrong, for example.
Exactly.
And so anything could happen. And Nene, obviously, she's the one, I'm assuming that's,
I think
the
she's
more
the
successful
breadwinner,
one, right now. But she says, anything could happen. Gregg could win the lotto.
And I want some of that lotto money.
Yeah, and I want some of that lotto money. So really, truly, anything could happen. And so I think it's definitely smart of them to get a prenup.
What about if you were in a situation, like if you were marrying a rich guy and he asked you to sign a prenup, would you?
No. When I marry a rich guy, I probably would.
Yeah.
But I would have in there clauses to protect me. For instance, like if there's an issue with a child, or there's an issue with infidelity, then
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
And also I think year counting is too.
Yeah.
It's good too.
So I'm just not gonna, and I would just make sure I'm married for at least 10 years, especially if we live in California. So then after 10 years, I'm granted that spousal support.
Oh,
I'm gonna hang in there for 10 years.
That.
Yes.
Now I need to know that.
So yeah. But no, I probably would just wouldn't screw myself over in the process.
Yeah. I don't think it's smart enough. It's like smart. It's not smart to sign your life away.
Yeah.
And what do you have to show after you're done with them?
Yeah. And she even says that later when she's at the radio station. She's like, people have negative feelings about a prenup, but it's safe and it can be a good thing for both parties involved. So when people hear prenup, I think they automatically assume one person's trying to cheat the other person out of
they're already planning for divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And let's talk about the radio station, because that's what's next. And she goes to visit V103 in Atlanta, I'm guessing. And she doesn't like to do radio because it's so early. I don't understand that because I'm not a morning person at all. But one of the questions that came up that one of the co-hosts asked her was how the black actresses in Hollywood are treating her. And she was like, some of them do not like me and some of them really welcome me. I think that was really interesting. And I don't think that has to do with the race issue at all. I think that just has to do with a gender issue too, because I think sometimes women, we see it on the Housewives all the time, that women aren't necessarily the most supportive of each other. And I think it's cool that she's addressing, like, even people that are of A-list status or whatever are still, they still do that too. Yeah. Like, they have cliquey groups that are kind of rude and mean.
And it's human nature, obviously. Yeah. If they're all actresses, they're going to maybe be going up for the same parts and, maybe be jealous if Nene's getting a part that they wanted. So.
And yeah, she's funny and she's witty, and there's a lot of people that can do that too, and it's like, she has this platform.
Want names. I want to know.
I do too. I kind of want to know
who's throwing the shade.
I feel
Nene's way.
I wish I could see it. I wish I could witness it. I feel like if I witnessed it though, I would probably pee my pants or have a heart attack, because it would be just too much for me to handle, because I love all of them so much. But we see that she also, this was weird for me, that she announced that she had plans for a prenup on
the radio.
Air, and then hadn't even talked to Gregg yet about it. I was like, what?
Dramatic irony. Remember that time that pretty much the start of their divorce, well, in my opinion anyway, obviously I wasn't there in their marriage, but is when he goes on a radio station and talks about all the money he's given her, and she has to hear it from someone else. So I'm like, this is a full circle moment right here, because obviously she just...
it's probably like her subconscious being like, let's get him back, I don't know. I didn't even think about that correlation. That's funny. Yeah, because he dogged her out on the radio.
I gave Nene $50,000. I don't know how many
in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I think it was 20,000.
20,000. Okay.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it was just interesting. That's really interesting that she would do that. Hers is not that bad.
Yeah, hers is not that bad compared to your husband saying he gave you.
Yeah, he's character assassinating her kind of a little bit, and that's a popular term in Bravo world. Character assassination. I don't know. I like it. And then we see Gregg and Nene meeting together, and Gregg, they wanted to talk about wedding plans. Who's going to be in it? What's the date? What are they going to wear? And then Nene brings up the kids. And this is the first time we're hearing about the kids in the episode, like the extent of the kids. And this is when we find out he was married previously for 20 years, married to Nene for 15 years, has 5 kids from that previous marriage. We've never even heard about these kids at all on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like, that's... how has this not been brought up before? Like, I don't understand that.
I don't either.
But it kind of makes me happy, though, that they have, like, something... You know, we're discovering new things. Like, I thought it was just going to be, like, you know, Nene, funny Real Housewives of Atlanta. But this is, like, a whole different side to her and, like, her life. I think that's cool.
I'm just really surprised, not only with the kids, but also with her dad, or Curtis, who I guess isn't her dad, that they've been kind of distant. Because I know a lot of times when people, and this is obviously like a huge stereotype, but a lot of times when people like get famous and reach the level of success that Nene and Gregg have right now, there's family members coming out of the woodwork that are like, you know, I want to be on TV, or I need money, or I need this, or I need this. And so it's just interesting to me that they were even never featured on the show. Not to say that that's their motive, because I don't want to character assassinate anybody's family members. But
also, I mean, do you think that maybe Curtis doesn't want to appear so much on the show because, I mean, he was basically embarrassed from that whole paternity test, like, not turning out to be, like, Nene's not his actual daughter. Do you think he's, like, feels hurt, maybe? And then also, remember she visited her dad in season 2 when she was writing her book. Her real dad, who she thinks might be her real dad. She never knew.
I mean, I'm sure Curtis does feel, I don't know exactly, I don't know what emotions to put on it. I've never been in that situation. I never will be in that situation because I'm not a man. If I have a child, I'll know that it's mine because it'll come out of me. But so I'm sure he's feeling a variety of emotions, or at least he was at the time when it happened. But I think, if anything, he should realize that him coming to support Nene, him being a father figure to her, even despite the fact that he's not her dad, would, if anything, redeem any negative thing that happened in the past.
Exactly.
To me, to see a man that takes care of a child, I mean, even though Nene's an adult, but to see a man that takes care of a child that he knows is not his, that's the most admirable thing.
That's a true man.
That's a true man. And it takes a real man to do that. So to me, it would seem that he would, you know, embrace this role that he's being able to play, but instead he's kind of
backed away.
You know,
yeah. And that
shunning
makes me
her,
sad.
and it's sad because she's a child. I mean, she's an adult, but in the situation, she's an innocent child that had nothing to do with her mom's actions.
If he really cared about her, I feel like he would fight for her, you know, like to stay with him and be like, consider me your dad, because I am your dad. I raised you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that too. And I'm glad that she acknowledges it later in the episode, because I was like, is she not going to acknowledge that she needs to work on her family issues too? And then she did. She was like, if Gregg is going to work on them, I have to work on them too. And they're, you know, both kind of sorted and difficult. And
I have a question really quickly. Where does her dad live now? Because I know that he used to live in Atlanta, right? No, or did he never live in Atlanta?
I think he...
Because she's like, well, let me know and I'll fly you, like, down to the wedding.
I think it's in Athens or somewhere in Georgia. I think that's where he initially lived, because she was raised in Athens, and... That's where, I mean, like... So
how far is Athens from Atlanta?
It's not that far.
Not flight distance.
I mean, you would drive there. You wouldn't fly. But he might be old. I don't know. Maybe he lives in... Maybe he lives in somewhere different.
Did he move or something? Does he live in another state now?
Maybe.
And so maybe that's put a strain on their relationship as well?
Yeah. I mean, you never know.
I don't know.
And he also has a significant, like, a girlfriend. He's had for a while. And then we go into the next scene with Nene's Uncle Mel, who is amazing. And I just love their height difference. Like, that makes me happy. It just is funny, like, without me even saying it. And we find out that Uncle Mel has been married he's been married 5 times. For
not totaling more than 8 years, though.
Yeah.
So it's like a year-long marriage
so like
apiece, 2 year-and-a-half marriages, maybe.
If that. And then Nene was like, he married for ass. Like, he followed the booty, and he married for ass. And I was like, I like that. That's funny. And then he brings up her dad, and she needs to deal with her family issues. And we find out that he's been with this girlfriend. Curtis has been with this girlfriend for longer than he's been with anyone he's even been married to or with. So that's cool. I'm glad to hear that, at least. At least he has somebody. He's not alone, or, you know.
Yeah.
That's cute, I guess. And then we see Nene call Curtis on the phone. That's smart, though. If he's, like, not going to answer Nene's calls, so he uses Mel's phone to be like, let's deal with this. Like, that's really cute. I'm glad that Nene did that. And he said he would come to the wedding.
Yeah, he did. So
yeah.
good.
And if someone's going to pay for you to fly, like, you better come to the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see Bryson and Nene. They're going furniture shopping for Bryson's apartment. Little ass apartment. I think that's what Nene called it. And we see Bryson on crutches. And he had a car wreck. He hit a tree. And he's on bed rest for 3 months because of his leg. And he has crutches. I've never heard of that before. I'm like, wouldn't you be going to like physical therapy or something? Like, I don't know. Is that weird to be on bed rest for 3 months just for like a broken leg or something?
Why is he up walking around a furniture store? Like, he should be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, like, why isn't he like on one of those like scooters or whatever that hover around or whatever? I don't know. It's strange. I feel like Bryson there's always something like bad that happens to him. There's always something.
Yeah, there is. He's
Yeah.
had a lot of
Ups and downs.
ups and downs. Yeah.
A lot of downs.
Yeah. I mean, Nene says that he's, did she use the word immature? Or
Yeah, immature and irresponsible. That's what she said.
Irresponsible. Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess it's just maybe he's putting himself in situations that aren't the best. I don't know under what circumstances he was driving. It was late at night, whatever. Maybe he was texting and driving. I don't know. No, I don't want to accuse anybody of doing anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's just maybe a irresponsible situations that is the reason why we always see him, you know, dealing with some drama, getting out of jail or being on crutches or.
The one thing that really, like, I don't know, it kind of made me emotional a little bit was seeing Nene talk to Bryson about being a good dad to his kids, because she was like, your dad wasn't around. And even though I didn't like your dad, I wanted you to love your dad. And then Bryson was like, well, it changed. And she was like, well, later it changed. I wanted you to like him at first whenever we split up. And it's interesting to see her talk about the dad issues too, because she's having dad issues. And it's like, it makes me so upset when people don't have a good relationship with their parents or don't know their parents, because that's like a huge part of someone's life that's missing. That's so sad. Yeah. I don't know.
And lots of times it's like cyclical, you know, if someone doesn't have a relationship with their parent, you would think that it would make them want to have a relationship with their parent, but sometimes it has the adverse effect and they don't value the relationship as much, so then they don't have the relationship. I mean, from everything we've seen with Bryson and his little daughter, he seems like he's like really likes her as his daughter, of course he likes her, but like, you know, really likes being a dad, is really trying to do the right thing. So hopefully he keeps on that track. He did say though that him and the baby mama Ashley were like broken up. What happened to
Ashley?
And I'm like, Ashley is somewhere right now looking at this episode mad as hell.
Probably. She probably doesn't even know what's happening.
On national TV? Really, Bryson? You're just going to throw shade like that? But so I think that will play a big role. If you're not with the baby mama, sometimes that's when things get a little bit tricky.
And it's also, I think it's going to be difficult too, because Nene's talking about it and he's talking about it, and then we've never met Ashley, and so we don't know who she is, but like, I'm sure that people around them do know who she is and have met her. So it's like strange. I don't know. It's just like weird that she's not around to defend herself or say whatever.
Yeah. If they're not together, they need to get together.
Yeah.
Bryson, do the right thing.
I want them to be together.
I want them to be together. We don't even know Ashley.
I don't know her, but
we want them.
I like her. I don't know why. But
she had a cute little baby.
Her baby is so cute. Briasia. I love that name too. It's so cute.
So cute.
She's precious. Nene posted pictures recently of her and she's like walking and running.
Oh, she's so cute.
That's amazing. Like, it just makes me so happy. And then Nene asked Brent and Bryson to walk her down the aisle instead of Curtis. And it makes me sad that she's not going to have Curtis, but I understand if their relationship is kind of on the rocks, you know? I don't know. It just makes me sad. But I'm happy that Brent and Bryson, because they're cute, and it'll be fun to like walk their mom down the aisle for their dad. That's cute. And then, of course, well, while we're talking about walking down the aisle, let's walk down the aisle and go to iTunes. Michelle, take it away.
So we've discussed a lot of different things this episode. Do you think Nene is holding on to things from her past? Would you sign a prenup? Let us know what you think by visiting iTunes. You can comment, rate our after show, give us some feedback, and of course, tell a friend to tune in to our after show as well, because we want to hear your opinions. If you have any questions for us, be sure to post those there as well. And we'll hit you back next episode.
Give us 5 stars.
Yeah. Also, while you're on iTunes, you might want to check out The Adventures of Serial Buddies, which is now available on DVD. This is a really funny comedy that was actually produced by the founders of AfterBuzz TV, Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. You can also get the movie at 7-Eleven, Target, DVD on demand. Yeah, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't have we don't have advertisements at all during our shows. So it's like, this is our one time to ask you to help us. And it helps keep our lights on here because it supports everything that we do. So if you like us, maybe you want to help support us even more. So yeah, just go and buy it. So let's get back to the episode. This is how we end the episode because this was dramatic. They go to the relationship expert, Dr. Jeff. I'm like, just Dr. Jeff. I want to know, like, what are his credentials? Like, is he a therapist? Like, what is he? He's just a relationship expert.
It's just like, yeah.
I'm a relationship expert. I'm in a relationship. Okay, I'm an expert now. Okay, no. But I do think that he looks like George C. Wolfe. I don't know. He seems like he knows what he's talking about.
I don't know who that is. Who's George C.
He's a playwright and a director. He just looks like that with the little glasses and, like, short and, like, yeah, he just looks like him. And Gregg is, like, so resistant, like, against this. And Nene said that before. She said he's, like, super old school and is like, if you don't go to therapy, or black people don't go to therapy, they go to church.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I don't even think it's a racial thing. I think it's kind of, like, just an older generation is like, you don't go to therapy because how is someone going to tell you about your problems?
And then especially men versus women too. I think men are a lot more reluctant to go to therapy because it's like they're supposed to be able to handle everything. So to go to someone else and admit that you're having issues is a lot of time emasculating for men. But I will say that the fact that Gregg is even there says a lot because if he really, really, really was resistant and really didn't want to go, he wouldn't have even gone in the first place.
He did open up a little bit.
One step.
Yeah, and we saw something that, I mean, it really came out like what his main issue is in his life, I think, is not communicating and not communicating at all. Not communicating with his kids, his wife, his other wife, his previous wife.
Yeah. And when he does communicate, it's joking. It's little one-liners that he always hits us with.
Well, it's like, I think there's a lot of darker things that are going on in his life that he has to deal with, and that's his way of dealing with it. I don't think he necessarily wants to, have someone else be affected by what he's going through. Like, he wants to deal with it himself. I mean, that's an old school thing too. Like, I'll deal with myself and I'll just be happy and everyone will see my smile, instead of like actually what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that he brings up, he opens up a little bit and he's like, there's things that that they talk to me about that I don't tell Nene and she doesn't know their side. And I was like, after 15 years, she doesn't know their side, and they don't know her side at all either. Like, that's weird. I think that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, that's strange to not share your life or want to bring your lives together.
It seems like maybe he thought that with time, things would just kind of fade out and it wouldn't matter anymore. But instead, it's because we see in the preview for next week that things get crazy.
Oh, my God.
So it just seems like it had kind of the opposite effect in that with time, things got worse, emotions grew stronger. There was more resentment towards Nene,
that's the whole thing.
And then Nene becomes the bad guy, and it's like she hasn't even done anything.
But do you think that she's completely innocent in her, and just do you think that she at all caused any of the problems? I don't know if she
caused them to break up. I don't know if she caused a breakup between his first marriage
and him. Yeah.
What I will say though is because I have kind of like a stepmom situation, and a lot of the time, even if you don't feel your stepmom has actively done anything wrong, I think that the woman that's in their life now should prompt them to be in. I'm trying not to make this about me, but I'm saying, like,
go ahead.
I think that, like, maybe the way they're feeling is that as Nene being his new significant other, then maybe she wasn't necessarily the one causing drama, but she should have been the one as his spouse to say, Gregg, you need to go spend time with your kids. Gregg, you need to invite them to Thanksgiving dinner or whatever.
But also for her to make an active effort too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they're feeling that
I think that she felt really nervous probably coming into the situation and seeing like all these kids and being like, well, I don't know how they feel about me. And if they had ever said anything bad about her, she probably was just like, well, they don't want to be around me, so I'm not going to be around. Instead of, like really trying to force them to like her. Not force them, but really try to get in good with them, I think. I don't know. I mean, that's just what it seems like to me. Like, maybe that's not what we're seeing. Yeah. And I'm anxious to hear what these kids are going to say next week because obviously it's a lot because there's going to be something that erupts.
Yeah. And I was going to say the kids probably would have been younger and a little bit more easily swayed. But then I realized he was married for 20 years. So the kids were probably like already grown.
Yeah, I mean, they all look kind of older, too.
They all looked older. Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting. It's just so interesting to see this whole... I didn't even know. I honestly had no idea that any of this existed. I thought it was just literally Gregg and Nene, and she brought in Bryson, and then they had Brent together. Like, I didn't think that there were, like, 5 other kids. That's crazy.
And, like, uncles, and apparently Brent has uncles that he doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's just, like, all these family issues that are just, like you said, cyclical. Like, it keeps repeating itself. Like, that's strange.
Yeah.
I never thought we would get this deep on, like, a wedding show. But I kind of like that we are.
I know. When they said 5 kids, we were like, what?
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's a little bit different for Bravo because they're focusing on something. Because the Nene that we saw the divorce, and that was kind of dirty, but we don't see that, the real, like, daily stuff that someone goes through, like family stuff.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, though, because if you think about it, like on a Real Housewives show, they're sharing the show with like 7 other people. So it's like when you kind of remove that one person and just have a micro focus on their life, then you get to see
everything.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, and you never know, like, what, like, during their divorce times and all the times that if Nene, like, ever snapped at anyone, like, what she was going through in her, like, actual life outside of the cameras that was affecting that, too. Like, it could have been affecting it negatively. I don't know. But I'm glad it did because she's gotten some really good, really, really good moments on the show that I'm obsessed with. Even if they're yelling and being mean to people.
Are you talking about on Housewives of Atlanta? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm like, they're some of the most memorable Housewives moments of all time. So I love it.
Close your legs to married men.
Trash box hookah. I love that. I always scream like trash box and no one ever knows what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I hate all of you because you don't get it. You don't get it at all. And what did we see? We see that with the conversation ends and Gregg is just like over this guy, like completely done. He keeps like giving him like the housewife hand, like in your face, like, psst, no.
What? Like, this guy was totally unprofessional. Like most of the therapists we've seen on TV in general are just so laid back and so passive. And this guy was getting rowdy though, and like feisty with him.
Kind of like coming towards him.
Like coming up, and I'm like, what?
But maybe he was like trying to communicate with him with like how Gregg was communicating with him. I don't know. I don't know anything like that.
Yeah, I just don't think they should go back to that therapist. I think they should find someone else to go to.
And maybe not a relationship expert, maybe a actual therapist. Maybe. I don't know. Just
someone with a degree.
Yeah. No.
That's so bad. Dr. Jeff, if he ever sees this, we're both getting sued.
I know. Sorry about that, Dr. Jeff. But it looks like that's what it looks like. I mean, we're just observing the show, and that's what it looks like. So. That you don't look.
And they were in kind of like a lounge situation, like it wasn't
looked
like
a produced moment. I was like,
yeah,
this is strange. I was like, has he been like on Dr. Phil or like I don't know, some kind of weird show like Dr. Oz or something?
It's like the Dr. Muhammad, or what was his name that Sheree got hooked up with? That was like a love doctor,
but an actor, and like
yeah, he wasn't really a doctor.
Are you a real woman? Oh, I'm all real woman, boo. Yeah, I love that. So let's get into some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, I'm gonna predict that next week is gonna go better than what it looks like on camera. Or like look like what we're seeing on the teaser. I think that they're gonna actually work through their issues. Right?
Is next week the meeting between his kids and because they did like a preview for the whole season, so I don't know what's next week. I would think that's
what it's leading to.
Okay.
And then they'll get into the happy stuff like the bridesmaids and the planning the wedding and stuff. I think they just want to get like the darker stuff out of the way, and then let's get to the fun stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I predict that they're going to deal with it and they're going to get heated and crazy. And then, I don't know, I think that they'll get a resolve. Like, Nene will apologize or someone's going to give just to make it okay. And I think it needs to be Gregg, though, in all honesty. Because he needs to tie his life together.
Yeah, I'm really bad at predictions. I don't know what I want to predict. I predict that... I don't know. The kids hate Nene. Yeah. That was a really good prediction.
Yeah, and I want to predict that Marlo Hampton is going to still be one of my favorite people of all time. I love her. I don't know why. She's fabulous. Good weave. But you can find me on Twitter at Jake_DuPree and on Instagram at Jake DuPree.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle Renee LA.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.